Good evening, kindred of New York. Tonight this scene is hosted at Castle Clinton, a fortress turned national park some time ago. It has been co-opted, or taken over, if you will, by the Ventrue. And tonight the appointed head of the Ventrue, Maximilian Hardcastle, is receiving a guest. The meeting will take place at about 10 o'clock at night, long after sunset. And as the two gentlemen approach, they see, are you guys perceptive, Auspex 1 or anything like that?
No aspects.
What about high perception?
I got a perception of 2, and alertness of 2.
Hang on a second. So no aspects from me too, but...
Oh, really? Okay.
I probably will take a perception roll.
Okay, go ahead and load up the dice stream and throw it on there.
Oh, perception and alertness. What is the success roll?
It's not actively hidden. I'm going to have to say it's a 5.
Okay.
Not being actively hidden.
Roll real quick. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, yeah. Easy. Okay. All right. The man standing at the front gate of Castle Clinton. Now, Castle Clinton is normally closed by this time. It is 10 o'clock at night, of course. It is a national park. However, there are certain people with certain influences who can open this park late at night. One of the guards, if you will, you see standing outside of Castle Clinton, is an older gentleman. He's not dressed any different than what you would expect a New York City person to be dressed as. But the thing that stands out is the right side of his face is, especially with a role like that, looks to be like a reconstructive surgery. You can make out, especially when you get close, and he's standing in the light where it's obvious. The reconstructive surgery, while it did fix the issue, it's pretty obvious to anyone who's perceptive that he's heavily scarred. And that's the only thing that stands out is the guard and the guard's scar.
I'm assuming we're walking side by side. Lean over to Jackie and I just whisper, "Where the fuck did you take me?"
Then.
I'm sorry, did you not catch that?
Yeah, can you say it?
Oh, I said, "Where the fuck did you take me?"
Well, Jackie says, I have been given a letter that says I am invited by the Ventrue Primogen for a meeting, and this is the place that the meeting is going to happen. And the letter also said that I can bring a +1, so I know in the city.
Time for a politics roll. What is it going to be? Intelligence politics or wits politics? I'll leave that up to you.
I'm going with wits politics simply because of how new it is.
Okay. All right. So this is 1, 2. It's 3 successes. This is just on what they may possibly want with the fledgling. You can be as general as you want about it, considering I don't know your character.
What's your dots in politics?
2, and I haven't.
What's your dots in etiquette?
Oh, dots in etiquette.
Well, Oh yeah, Camarillo is all about saying the right thing at the right time.
I do not have etiquette.
Okay, well that's a skill, no big deal. Um, Fledglings in the Camarilla, that's defined as status 0, or as a background.
Mm-hmm.
They are usually under their sire's tutelage, and his sire seems to be missing, or at last word is his sire seems to be missing, as does the general scuttlebutt around town.
Yep.
So
They're going to
Also,
take Jackie under their wing. Called
by
it.
the way, Samuel, you can see that Jackie is actually wearing a scuba diver outfit inside his clothes.
Why the fuck are you wearing that?
Well, you do know that how people react when they try to touch me, and considering we are going to meet a Primogen, I don't want to be rude. So, I've taken precautions.
now, Mr. Jackson, the position of Hound is works for the sheriff, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's not the Primogen's job to drag a unwanted fledgling before the prince. It would actually be yours or the Scourge's. So it's probably nothing to do with that.
Oh, you said it's probably nothing bad?
Yeah, it's probably nothing bad, because if it was, Primogen wouldn't be, leading
No.
that charge. That would be you or Scourge or the sheriff.
Yeah, well, I know that Jackie presented himself to the prince, so it wouldn't be anything like that.
Exactly.
The only thing I would really be able to see is that he doesn't have a sire. He's 2.5 weeks old. Someone's got to take this guy in.
Yeah.
That's the only real thing.
Okay. Well, I've just set the scene. There's a guard out front. He's got a reconstructed surgery face, and just you two and the guard way at the end of the walkway there.
Okay. I start walking forward, not to the guard, and I signal Jackie to come on and follow me.
The guard takes a drag on a cigarette. Evening, boys. And Jackie immediately recognizes the voice as the one at the other end of the phone. Can I help
Okay.
you boys with something?
Jackie just get from pocket and hand to the man.
Reaches out, grabs it. Oh, you're Mr. Noble. Sorry. You're Mr. Noble?
Yeah.
And you're the associate? Looking to Mr. Jackson. Mr.
Oh.
Bishop. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, okay, no problem. He says, yeah. May as well take the time to describe Samuel to you real quick. To anyone that is even remotely really involved in the fashion industry, you can tell that Bishop was wearing a fake leather jacket. He's got normal pants on, and jeans, I should say. He has jeans on. And he has a pair of skate shoes on as well. Underneath the jacket, he has a white t-shirt on under it, although he keeps the jacket zipped up, so you can only see the top of the collar of the coat in question. While he looks a bit rebellious, he does carry himself a bit confidently.
Also, the guard can also see that Jackie is dressed exactly the way he is on the picture, but he also has a full body scuba diver suit inside his clothes, and he's also wearing a long black and very thin trench coat on top of all that.
All right, well, Max is inside. Make it quick.
Sounds good.
We are
Okay.
busy.
So the is the guard is the guard will weapons or something like that?
Nope.
Okay.
Weapons checks are for Elysium. This is not an Elysium.
Okay.
The guard just kind of motions you on. Besides, Max is a big boy. He can take care of himself.
Okay. So Jackie steps inside and looks to Bishop as a way of telling him what to do next.
Well, meet up with the guy, see what he wants. He'll probably want to take you in or something. Take you under his wing.
No, please, no.
It's not just that simple. It's hard to say no to a venture sometimes. Figuratively and quite literally. I've never met this, what was his name? Maximilian?
Yes.
I've never met him before, but he's doing something right if he's Primogen.
Okay.
The guard has overheard this, and he's like, you better address him as Mr. Hardcastle.
Thanks for the tip.
Anytime.
At this point, after hearing what Bishop said, you can see that Jackie is getting quite nervous.
Look, don't worry about it. Most Ventrue prefer a little bit of finesse with these things. They're not going to get, they likely won't get overly hostile with you as long as you show them the proper respect and make sure you know what you're doing.
But if something like that happens, what am I going to say to my sire?
Your sire's not here right now, is he? Or
She
sorry.
She is not here right now, but okay. What?
Oh, sorry?
So then he says, "Well, what the hell? Let's go."
Okay.
So where exactly are we meeting?
It's Castle Clinton. For those of you with either Google skills or a knowledge of history, Castle Clinton was a fortress that was built in the early Dutch settlement, and it was called Fort something in Dutch that's hard to pronounce. And it was used to defend New Amsterdam back in the day, before New Amsterdam was turned over to the English and became New York. Since then, Castle Clinton's been torn down, rebuilt, fixed, torn down, rebuilt again, and now it's a national park and tourist center with several meeting rooms inside.
Okay.
Okay, so we are meeting in the meeting room. Jackie, nice, and waits for an answer.
The door is pretty obvious because it's the only thing with lights on at this time. And the room, as you guys walk in, the room is rather Spartan for what you would expect from the Ventrue stereotype. It's just a folding conference room table, several folding chairs around it. There's some refreshments up against the wall, a bottle of champagne, and a bottle of red wine, probably off the shelf, not some weird vintage that you've never heard of. Some glasses. And there are two people in the room, one of which is a female, dressed in basically what you would call business casual. And she's on a laptop pecking away at a keyboard. And the only person who could possibly be Max in this entire room is dressed in a very fine suit, his hair immaculately groomed, and is pretty much everything you would expect a young Ventrue neonate to be.
Okay. As we make our way to the table, is there any carpets on the floor, or is it a simple just
It's tiled.
okay tile? Is there any kind of what was it?
Pattern? Were you going to
Yeah,
ask a
sorry.
pattern? Okay.
Yeah. Is there any kind of pattern on the floor on the tiles?
nothing that stands out. It looks like your typical sterile conference room floor.
Okay, then you will see Jackie walking to the table normally.
As you guys approach, you can hear Max before you see him. So his voice is kind of resonating. And Layla, please make sure that the funds are transferred from the account. We need to make sure that Detective Blaine is able to receive his payment on time. And we need to, and then as if he's cut off, Max will look up and see Jackie and
Bishop.
Samuel. The two approach the table, and Max will look up, and he will stand. And he stands up. Greetings, gentlemen. May I help you?
Greetings, sir. I believe you are Mr. Hardcastle?
Correct.
Well then, let me introduce myself first. I am Jackie Noble.
Ah, yes. The new arrival. Pleasure to meet your acquaintance. He extends a hand. Yeah. He extends a hand to shake.
Yeah, Jackie also extends his hand, but you can see it's covered. It's covered with something that really looks like a part of the full body suit, and takes her hand.
Neoprene. It's called neoprene.
Oh, okay. So you can see that clearly, and he takes the hand of Mr. Hart and shakes it.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Oh, did he have to go?
I guess so.
Okay, and now we'll be going on our official Living World of Darkness commercial break. All right, so we're on a road, and on that road is a Lincoln, and then in the Lincoln is going to be Matthew McConaughey. Oh, okay.
All right. So
Back.
Max will shake the hand. Mr. Noble, yes, pleased to meet you. And who is your friend here?
Samuel Bishop.
Mr.
Pleased to
Oh,
meet-
Mr. Bishop, yes. And he also extends a hand.
Pleasure to make your acquaintance, Mr.
Yes,
Hardcastle.
Mr. Bishop, pleasure to meet your acquaintance. This is a fortuitous encounter. Gentlemen, you care for something to drink? Actually, can you drink?
No.
I've sworn off drinking, but thank you for the offer.
Suit yourself. Layla, can you give us the room for a minute? And Layla, with her Jersey accent, yeah, boss, hits the lock screen, gets up, and she goes bouncing out of the room. Max will reach over and shut the lid of the laptop. Gentlemen, yes, please, have a seat. Have a seat. Mr. Noble, I very much appreciate you bringing in Mr. Bishop. I have been unfortunate as of late to not have had his acquaintance, but as a Primogen, I should at least know all of the law enforcement officers of the tower.
And I love to know all of our good representatives of the Camarilla.
Of course, of course. Well, as stated, if you haven't heard from the Harpies, my name is Maximilian Hardcastle of Clan Ventru, recently appointed as Primogen, and I made it a duty, as somebody informed me of Mr. Noble's presence within our city, that I should take the time and get to know him. So, Mr. Noble, you are still a fledgling, correct?
That is correct.
And where is your sire?
She is located at the New Jersey right now.
Max kind of gets a look of like, well, they all can't be from New York, I suppose. Then again, she may not want to visit considering we're in a state of war. So that's to be expected. What brings you to New York City, if you don't mind me asking? I mean, you've already presented yourself to the prince, so don't, please don't take offense at my prying. I'm just trying to get to know the new guy.
Well, the reason for my return to the city, because this city is my home.
Ah, you from the boroughs or from Manhattan?
Well, I am Flynn, sir.
From where?
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Okay, I'm a Queens man myself. Uh, Went to St. Francis Preparatory for being shipped off to West Point, and spent quite some time in Germany after my service to Uncle Sam, and then returned here, hearing that New York City could use a gentleman's touch, if you will. Mr. Bishop, what is the state of affairs with the Sabbat in town?
Well, we're gearing up at this point. We're mobilizing everyone we can get. Right now, we're getting different sets of groups together. We're getting one group to handle the influence side of things, shut down the bot in the most indirect ways they can. We have a group of spies or investigators, if you will. They're going to be going in, getting as much information for us as we can. Then we're going to have people that are dedicated to maintaining the masquerade at all costs. Then lastly, we have the strike team. We're going to go in and we're going to hit the spot where it hurts.
Hmm. And do you know where you're going to be hitting the Sabbat? Actually, I should ask, which team do you belong to?
Well, I'm a part of the strike team myself.
So then I assume you're of a clan with more physical aptitudes?
Clan Bruja.
Ah, yes. Clan Bruja, the Scholar Kings.
More of a scholar myself, honestly. But
Oh, really?
yes. Oh, by the way, I may as well let you know. Bishop is not an imposing man. He is 5'4", and he is actually a very scrawny dude. Like, he's not particularly big or intimidating at all.
Lucky for you, Potence doesn't care how big you are. And neither does BK.
Exactly.
So you're going to hit them where they hurt. Well, I've been fortunate to be able to put together a coterie of influence specialists myself. We call ourselves the Kingsmen. A bit pretentious, I know, but it does have a certain snap to it. And since there are numerous venture within that coterie, we are also quite adept at enforcing masquerade. In fact, under my tutelage, under my training that I went through, it was taught upon me that influence and masquerade enforcement are one and the same. For how are you going to be able to get access to those witnesses if you don't have police influence or judicial or something along those lines? So that's how my training went anyway. But at the core, the Kingsmen are an influence coterie per our prince's request.
Okay.
You may need to call upon us in the future to patch any holes, as it were, or if you need to get some information found or anything of that nature, please do not hesitate to call upon us. My number's on Mr. Noble's letter. You can call me at any time.
By the way, all this conversation is going on. Jackie is listening really closely, and he really looks like he is intrigued by the stuff Bishop tells to Mr. Hardcastle.
Yeah.
After Max tells Mr. Bishop all of this, he will turn to Mr. Noble. Now, Mr. Noble, I'm without your sire in town and being a fledgling yourself. How familiar are you with our 6 high traditions?
Well, sir, that is actually what I have been taught as a first lesson, my sire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then what is our 3rd tradition?
The third tradition is Okay. Just please.
Tell me you have Camarilla Lore 1.
No.
Oh, I think that's like a unwritten skill. I think most of us have it by default at 2. Wait, but I
Oh.
think that's only for neonates.
Really?
I don't know. I need an ST call on that because I don't recall it.
Anyway, let me go ahead and
Yeah, but anyway.
Bishop pipes up and he says, "Third tradition, the progeny."
Oh, very good, Mr. Bishop. However, I wasn't asking you. I was asking Mr. Noble.
Then Jackie will turn to Mr. Hardcastle and will say, "The third tradition, the progeny, thou shalt sire another only with the permission of thine elder. If thou createst another without thine elder's leave, both thee and thy progeny shall be slain." And he says slain with a big smirk on his face.
Very good. You've quoted it. Textbook answer of the third tradition. Now, what does it mean?
Well, I've been known to I've been known to remember things, sir.
Good. My phone remembers things, but my phone can't think, despite it being called a smartphone. So what does the third tradition mean?
That means a vampire in the state of a Camarilla wants to sire a new child, he or she has to ask for permission from the elder member of the city, which also makes the prince, I believe, to be able to sire a child.
Very good. Now, for the bonus round, why? Why is it that way?
Well, I believe that I won't be able to answer.
Well, it's quite simple, actually. The prince needs to know what forces are at his disposal. If we run around randomly embracing any shmoo we feel like, then the prince doesn't know what forces are at his disposal. So when enemies come calling, such as the Sabbat, Lupines, mages, whatever, then the prince does not know his full power, or the troops under his command, and what they can do. That is the big reason. The second reason is overpopulation. We do live in a modern world, gentlemen, where people with smartphones, pulls out a little black phone, can break the masquerade in a second. World of YouTubes and internets, and they can destroy the masquerade in a heartbeat. You sure you don't want to drink? This is really good wine for, convenience store bought.
No thanks, sir.
Yep, okay. More for Drescher, I suppose. So that is the reasoning behind the third tradition. The first tradition is pretty obvious why. Well, should be pretty obvious why. The Camarilla was formed many centuries ago to protect us from mortals wielding pitchforks and torches. Now they wield Barrett 82s and nuclear weapons. How fast do you think we would stand up to a fuel airborne explosive?
I believe it will be about 3.2 seconds, sir.
Then you overestimate your chances. I've seen those weapons at work. Something I care not to repeat in my immortal lifetime. Also, there's now the wonderful technology of infrared cameras. Picks most of us up without any effort. Anyway, so now your sire taught you these traditions, but didn't really teach you the reasoning or the logic behind them.
Well, I should say that we didn't quite have the time for that.
Ah, so you were rushed through your training, huh?
One could say so.
Well, well, Mr. Bishop, do your duties as the Hound keep you occupied most of the night?
I do things here and there, but I still have a bit of free time on my hands. Our good sheriff doesn't need me as often as you may think.
Do you feel you have the time to train, or at least watch over, this fledgling?
I glance over to Jackie, look back at Mr. Hardcastle. Wouldn't mind.
Also, what looks at Jackie, he can see that he is looking back at Bishop really excited. He can see that he just become really excited upon hearing those words.
Max will go, come now, we venture don't bite much.
Well,
I'm
sir, may I ask a question if I'm not stepping out of my bounds?
Please, speak.
Why a fledgling like me who is born into unlife very recently is being called to a meeting with a Primogen, no less? Don't get me wrong, sir. I am just really, really confused.
That is probably the smartest question I've heard asked since I have arrived in New York City. Why does a fledgling, who's not even a year under the cover of night, have a meeting with a Primogen? That is a very good question. And you keep thinking along those lines, we'll be cut out for our existence. The answer is simple. The prince saw fit to grant you acknowledgement, and yet you're a fledgling without a sire. In some, well, in some domains, not in North America, but in Europe, you would still be put to the stake and put to the sun immediately, sire or no matter how important they are, if they're not in town. Prince saw fit to grant you acknowledgement, and I see no reason to gainsay that. However, you are still a fledgling, and you still are new to our existence. And as a Ventrue, we always make sure that all the clans are at least properly trained, because one kindred's weakness is weakening us all, especially in this war zone that we have. You have Mr. Bishop here, who's a frontline soldier, for example, who's going to take the fight to the Sabbat, or at least that's the plan, as it stands. And for one fledgling, even an innocent fledgling, who has no idea of our laws, goes and endangers us all with his, I don't want to say ignorance, but even though that's the correct term, with his naivete. He threatens all of us. Also, the Harpy Constellanos. Hold up, I'm going to make sure I pronounce it.
It's Castellanos.
Castellanos?
Yep.
It is Castellanos.
Harpy Castellanos is also taking an interest in you. And if a Harpy has taken an interest in you, and a prince has granted you acknowledgement, then perhaps you are worthy of my attention, sir. But that's a good question. You are definitely smarter than some would let on. So, congratulations.
Well, after Mr. Hardcastle congratulates Jackie, both Bishop and Mr. Hardcastle can clearly see he lets out a giggle.
I think we're going to be just fine, Jackie.
Yep.
What, do you think I was going to walk into the Ventrue Primogen and wind up dominated and bloodbound? Come on, that's just a stereotype.
Nah. Most of the Ventrue I know aren't that heavy-handed.
Of course not. Well, we're not heavy-handed until we need to be. But so far, neither you or Mr. Noble have shown that we need to be heavy-handed. So, c'est la vie. Let you guys continue as you were. Now, on the other hand, if you were to accept my tutelage, Mr. Noble, you would have the protection of a primogen over a hound. Just something to think about.
I will keep it in mind. I will keep it in mind, Mr. Hardcastle.
Now, I don't want to bombard a fledgling with too many questions and too many variables at once, so I'll let you think this over. You may accept tutelage from me, and I have been trained by some of the finest Camarilla elders, some of the finest Camarilla elders in existence, or you can stick with your friend here. But do think on it, because we have all eternity.
Because what? Sorry, I missed that last part.
Think on it long and hard, Mr. Noble. With that last question you asked, you've shown to have a glimmer of intelligence, and for that I salute you. But as far as knowing the intricacies of our existence, and our existence is very, very intricate. Mr. Bishop can probably vouch for that.
Intricate like a spider web.
That was close enough. I was going to say the New York road system, but whatever. Have you seen the roads? Have you seen the roads around here? Jesus.
Yeah.
Although I will tell you, Berlin is way worse.
Oof.
Oh. Because not only do you have a city with 800 years of history, and funny story, did you know that 300 years ago they didn't think about making cars or roads wide enough to handle 4 cars at once? Go figure. So it's almost the problem that New York has, except New York also has at least a tax base to build new roads, whereas Berlin's had to fight through 2 major wars and a communist occupation for some 50 years. Contrary to popular opinion, communism is not a valid government plan. Anyway, that's mortal politics.
Hey, I could go about politics all day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm a political science major. That's what I graduated with before.
Oh, so you're the smart Bruja, not the punchy Bruja. Very nice. I think we'll have to talk shop someday. But for now, my time is limited, and I need Mr. Noble to ponder my offer, or take a third path and go seek tutelage somewhere else. There is an island full of kindred here, so he's got all of Manhattan to explore. But then again, tutelage from a primogen looks good on a resume.
I didn't think we took job applications.
We don't. It's a figure of speech.
Yeah.
In a way, every night of our existence is a job interview.
That's true.
And the finals are always right around the corner.
Yep.
Mr. Bishop, as I mentioned earlier, the services of the Kingsmen are at your disposal, either for information gathering or for patching holes in the masquerade, because I understand direct conflict with the Sabbat can stress the masquerade to its breaking point.
That it can. I'll put the word into our sheriff. Let him know that you're at our disposal.
Yes, Sheriff, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting him. What was his name?
Limey.
Limey, yes, Mr. Limey. I haven't had the pleasure. Do please pass my greetings on to him. I would very much like to meet him as well, at some point in the future.
That I will.
Not tonight, obviously. Now, gentlemen, I have to ask, is there anything you need of me or of Clan Ventrue? We're always happy to provide.
I don't think I do, for at least for the moment.
Well, you gentlemen have my number, should you need me.
we do, and then Bishop does start to stand up.
Max will also rise.
He'll extend his hand again, and he'll say, "It was good to meet you again, Mr. Hardcastle."
Likewise, Mr. Bishop and Mr. Noble. Do think my offer over,
I will, sir.
but the offer will not be on the table all forever. I am a busy man, and only get 12 hours a day to take care of business.
Well,
My glass.
on that note, as soon as Mr. Hardcastle finishes his line, I suppose the meeting will end, I suppose.
On your way out, if you see the Jersey Girl and Sergeant Drescher outside, please send them back in. They're probably having a cigarette somewhere.
I'll pass the message on.
Thank you.
After that, Jackie heads out with Bishop. They see the Jersey Girl first,
Uh,
then
the man with the scar and the Jersey Girl they're by the gate having a cigarette, like Max said. He knows his retainers.
okay. Then Jackie tells them what Mr. Hardcastle said, and waits for them to leave the gate. And when they do leave the gate,
Well, the smart man, or the scarred man, sorry, definitely not smart. When you say that, it's like, oh, is his high and mightiness done already?
Yeah, he says to come on back in.
All right. Well, you two boys have a good evening, he says as he walks in. And the bubbly Jersey Girl, bye-bye, and she goes bouncing into the room.
as they leave the gate, Jackie just holds his hand up and says, "You have a good night too, Mr. Jigsaw."
Yeah.
I don't think he heard that or understood what the fuck you were saying, though. The fuck? Whatever. There you go back into the room. And that will be the end of the scene.
Okay.